The weekly sermons of 45th Street Baptist Church are now available as a podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you know how powerful this is? Do you know what it means in your life? Or maybe I should ask the question, does it mean anything in your life? Until you learn how to study it, see what God is saying to you, you'll never really be able to fulfill your purpose. Come on and join us. Join us for 45 minutes of purpose here at 45th Street Baptist Church. I guarantee you, you'll come out thinking differently. And my prayer is, somewhere along the line, you'll find the purpose that God has for you. Come on in and join us.
Welcome to 45 Minutes of Purpose with Reverend Andre D. Sparks.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of 45 Minutes of Purpose, our Street Talk XL edition. This is the fourth and final installment of our kind of back to school 45 Minutes of Purpose. The first Wednesday of this month, we talked to some dynamic principals. The second Wednesday, we talked to some amazing educators. Last Wednesday, we had the privilege of talking to some of the best and brightest in our in some various school systems. And last but not least, we wrap it up this Wednesday with resources. And I know that's a big all-encompassing word, but as we kind of get into it and start talking with our guest tonight, you'll see exactly why we had to tackle this angle of getting back into the swing of things when it comes to school. That being said, let's go ahead and just jump into it. For those who might not know, my name is Anthony Sparks, and I have the privilege of serving as a deacon at 45th Street Baptist Church. And it's absolutely a pleasure to facilitate tonight's conversation. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest and let them also come on and introduce themselves. We have with us Ms. Theris Johnson, Melanie Cade, and Mr. Cedric Tatum. That being said, I want all of you, if you don't mind, make sure you're unmuted so we can just jump into it. Give everybody your title, what you do, and where you do it, and how long you've been doing it. All right, Theris, we'll kick off with you.
Okay, my name is Theris Johnson. I am a native of Birmingham. I am employed with Birmingham City School System. This is my 28th year being in the district. I also serve as administrative assistant at 45th Street Baptist. I am a mother of two daughters. Destiny is a graduate of Florida A&M, and Nissa is a freshman at Southern University. My current title, I am a lead literacy support specialist for the district. So I have the privilege of serving about 15 schools.
Okay, and in that role, what do you do day in, day out?
Day in, day out, provide professional learning opportunities, sit in on various meetings, review data with teachers, and offer them the opportunities to learn more about best practices as it relates to literacy. I am a national board certified teacher in the area of literacy and have been since 2008. So literacy is somewhat of a passion for me. So we do a lot of the background work as it relates to literacy.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Great to have you tonight.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Good deal. All right, Miss Melanie Cade, it's on you. What you do, how long you've been doing it, and anything else interesting you want to throw out there for the audience tonight.
Yeah. So, hey, thank you for having me, Anthony. I am a homeschooling mother of 8 children. I do work from home in a capacity of a magazine that I publish and edit myself. And I work with business owners to put their businesses in front of families on a day-to-day basis. But in addition to that, I homeschool my husband's 8 children. We homeschool our 2 high schoolers. So we have a child going into the 10th grade, a child going into the 9th grade. a child going into the 5th grade. We have twins that are both going into the 3rd grade. And then we have a 4-year-old who we're starting into kindergarten this year. And we've been homeschooling for about 3 years now. And I'm just happy to come and share resources with all of the parents who have been thrown into homeschooling.
Thank you. We're gonna get this mute thing working. All right. Thank you so much, Melanie. I know we've got a lot to throw at you tonight because you have a very varied vantage point that I think is going to be great for us to learn more about. So thank you for being on tonight. Last but not least, Mr. Cedric Tatum. Again, what system you're with or what you do, your title, how long you've been there, etc.
Well, good evening, everyone. I have been with Birmingham City Schools for the last 21 years, I believe, 22, and currently serve in the capacity of Director of Educational Technology. I'm just blessed to have served in numerous roles leading up to this point for the last couple of years, from being principal at 4 of our schools here in the district, from elementary to high school, and then serving as Director of Innovations, and then finally, again, my current position for the last 2 years is Director of Educational Technology.
Okay, awesome. Good to have you. Want to ask you real quick, what exactly does a Director of Educational Technology do for Birmingham City Schools?
Well, our primary focus is on helping teachers to integrate technology into the use of technology into their curriculum.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. And just FYI, everyone, Mr. Tatum is also a pastor. And so he'll have to leave us at about 7:10 or so. So just in case, as we kind of start to wrap up the evening, if you don't hear from him anymore, it's because he has to get ready for his own Bible study tonight. So that's just FYI. It's not that he doesn't love us, not that he doesn't like us. He just has to go make sure that he feeds his flock. All right. So that being said, thank each and every one of you, as far as our guest, for being on tonight, and thank all of you who are listening and watching through the various mediums. Y'all, this is going to be a great conversation as the previous 3 have been. And so let's just jump into it. So school has officially started. What are your first impressions? It's officially here. All the build up, all the planning, all the resetting of dates and moving back goalposts. It's officially here. First impressions, Melanie.
Well, I'll say in my house, in our homeschool, we have not started yet. We're not starting until September 1st, but I've had the opportunity to sit back and observe what's going on with friends of mine who are having to go through this transition, and it's scary for them. As parents, they are scared of their children falling behind because with the start of school, everybody feels like they just weren't ready. And so I'm just really prayerful that everybody kind of gets over this learning curve of the technology, and the students get used to all the new things that they're having to do as far as interacting with their teachers in this sort of setting, and the parents get used to having to, work from home while, orchestrating homeschool or virtual school for their children. I'm just prayerful that, everybody just gets through it the best way possible.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this: based on your, because you've been homeschooling your kids now for what, year or 2, maybe 3?
No, almost 3 years now.
Okay, so 3 years. And so, do you kind of feel like, for lack of a better phrase, you're kind of ahead of the curve because you
absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was telling a friend a couple weeks ago that I feel like, the things that led us to I wanted to homeschool my children since our oldest was born. I just had to kind of convince my husband that homeschool was the way to go.
Right.
And finally, I was able to convince him. And I feel like God allowed us the opportunity to jump into homeschooling when we did, so that I could sit in platforms like this and other platforms that I've sat in since the pandemic started, to help all the parents who did not have years to plan their homeschool the way that I did. I literally had years to plan homeschool for my children, whereas parents who are thrown into it now had weeks, maybe months, I don't know, there were some parents who didn't have a decision made until last week, and so I just feel like God put us, so as far as being ahead of the curve, yes, and I feel like that was for a purpose.
Right. Do you have any, just real quick, not to belabor the point, but would you have any advice, or just kind of maybe a nugget or two of wisdom for parents who find themselves having to balance being a parent and a teacher during the school day now?
Well, I mean, I tell people that we are our children's first teachers anyway. Mm-hmm. So this, although it seems, we have to first, as parents, deprogram what school looks like to us as well as to our children. And I went through that as well when we began homeschooling. We have to deprogram our minds of, school has to look like this, because it doesn't. My biggest form of advice is for parents to remember that, if we could teach our children to eat, if we could teach our children to walk, if we could teach our children to use the bathroom, we could teach our children to put their clothes on. We are their first teachers, and this book work that we now have to teach them, although there's a learning curve for us as parents, we know our children better than anybody else. So, just take that and just be that parent, and the teaching part will come. That would be my best advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Tatum, what about you? School has officially started. First impressions. We're muted. All right.
Here we go. Yeah, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, school is almost officially started for Birmingham City. Our first date is September the 8th.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yes, we have been blessed in that our leaders saw the need to give us a little bit more time to get ready, to make sure that our kids are safe during this pandemic. And we're beginning our first 9 weeks with students at home. So we are busy getting devices ready, hoping the shipments come in quickly so that we can put them in the hands of our students before schools actually starts. If I had any advice for parents and also teachers during this time, breathe. Just stop and take a breath. Whenever we move into something new, it's our habit to sometimes tense up and forget to just relax. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking to strive towards perfection. We know that we'll get there. This is going to get better as we go. So just take your time, take it one day at a time. And we know that it's a learning curve, not only learning the technology that's going to be in front of you, but also recognizing that, you're working with your kids in a new space. And the biggest theme there is just making sure you provide some consistency. And we're going to make sure that we do our best to make sure that you're equipped to be able to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. You really just kind of blew my mind, because the last thing I'd heard about Birmingham City was August 24th, I think. And when you just said September 8th, I'm like, my goodness. So, okay, that's interesting. So, of course, Theris, with you also being Birmingham City, it's been realized now that school has not officially started, but as you kind of gear up to get into the school year, what's kind of some of your first impressions in terms of coming back, kind of reassuming your role, getting into your capacity, getting ready for it?
So there are huge levels of anxiety. As Melanie stated, parents are anxious, students are anxious, teachers are anxious, and it's not just about the learning. It also has to do with health and public safety. It has to do with the level of the unknown, because schools run methodically. You have 50 minutes to do this, 30 minutes to do that. And now we are really going to be, in a way, building the plane as we are flying it. And so plans are going to be fluid, and most teachers are not accustomed to being very fluid in that manner. Now, as far as tips for parents, I would say that mindset is going to be important every single day. I think that you have to make sure that the students, that you give your children the mindset that we can do this. We can achieve it. We can make this happen. Make sure that they are in some type of routine, not anything rigid, but to make sure they have one. Make sure when they are engaged in their learning, that the distractions around them are reduced to a very minimum. I would also say that parents really are our partners in education, and they don't necessarily have to teach, but they do need to make sure the assignments are turned in on time. And they need to make sure that the resources that are available, that they utilize those things. We do need to focus on that two-way communication, letting the teacher know that if there's something going wrong, how they can help, how we all can support each other, and to build a basic supply kit at home.
Okay.
Your regular tools, your pencils, your pens, your dictionaries, rulers, highlighters, whatever study tools that you would normally have, I would recommend to have those things in a space, and make your learning space a regular space, so that they can be more focused on what it is they're doing.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Great information. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. So looking at that, either, well, for everybody, each of our guests, school has not in fact started just yet, but the preparations and just kind of starting to get into the thick of it, that is beginning. So let me ask you all this. What would you say, besides the obvious, which is of course catching COVID or having kids, catch it. Besides that, what is your biggest fear, for lack of a better word, about navigating this school year? Let's go with Mr. Tatum first. He's muted. There we go.
Guys, and let me go ahead and apologize first of all for the muting issue with me. I have inherits some new grandbabies, if you would, and they're in the background. So to spare you that noise is why I kind of keep mine muted. But at the same time, my biggest fear for school, I can't say that I actually have a fear about this. I just, and that has to do primarily with, I guess, the nature of who I am. I trust God that everything is going to be okay, and that our parents are going to do whatever needs to be done while we're behind the scenes working to make sure that you have what you need. If there's, I really can't answer what about my greatest fear is. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, And again, I said, maybe for lack of a better word, fear, we can substitute that with concern or whatever other word kind of fits in that category. And if you have none, perfectly fine. Theris, what about you? Biggest fear or concern about kind of navigating in this new format for this school year?
So I think for me, it is going to be the learning curve as far as the adults are related. Students, we often refer to them as digital natives, and the adults are digital immigrants. They were born in a digital society. They have the different devices at home. They have Alexa, they have, most of them have tablets and whatnot. And most of the children in this generation, they've not ever even been to a school with a chalkboard.
Wow.
So digital lifestyle is what they know. And we are the ones that are going to have to adjust and kind of make it all work, make it all pull together. So it's the learning curve for the adults.
Wow, interesting perspective. But it makes so much sense. Yeah. All right, Melanie, what about you?
For my personal school year, I don't have a fear just because we've been doing this. But for friends of mine and family members of mine who have been thrown into the situation, my fear is that that the parents will give up. And the children will kind of fall behind because it's hard. I mean, I wouldn't be honest if I said it was super easy, because it's not. It takes consistency. It takes, a whole lot of scheduling and sticking to the schedule, and so many different things, especially those parents who have multiple children to try to navigate this new world with. And I'm just afraid that those parents will give up on trying to achieve that learning curve, the technology and the scheduling for the children and having them in front of their computer when they need to be, and those sorts of things. That really scares me, because once those parents give up, then naturally the children will kind of fall behind. And then once they're put back, once school opens back up, it's my fear that those children will be behind. So I just, want to encourage parents to not give up, because, right now it may look scary, it may look new, it may look, it may seem frustrating, but we've still got to think about when school opens back up, we don't want our children to be, so far behind that they're trying to play catch up with the other students and that sort of thing. So.
Gotcha. So that said, focusing on the parents and having them really having to, I guess, dig deep, buckle down, kind of shift from becoming those digital immigrants to really embracing the tech and this quote unquote new normal, which is a phrase we've heard a lot over the course of the last 5 or 6 months. Are there any places that have, I guess, maybe resources, or is there any way for parents, or anywhere that you all can point us to where parents can get help? Because I know, breathing deep, they got to do it, and we got to exercise a level of patience. But aside from that, is there anything from a technical or a practical perspective where we can say, parents, go blank or look into this resource to kind of figure out how to help you navigate this time? Is there anything that you all know of that can assist parents in that capacity? And that's for anybody.
Mr. Sparks, I would say, first of all, there are numerous places that I would point a parent to find the help that they need. And this may sound a little kind of key, but first, for those kids who are used to devices, parents, ask your kids. If you're not familiar, do not sell your children short. I walked in with my 6-year-old who is playing a game with another kid who is in the other room, and he picks up on this very easily because they are digital natives. They're growing up with this. And I know I'm kind of dating myself when I say I grew up with the rotary dial telephone. These kids are growing up with devices in their hands. My grandson is swiping with his fingers now on my phone, and he's just a year old. So don't sell our kids short. They have a lot more knowledge as it relates to the use of technology than we sometimes give them credit for. For us in Birmingham City Schools, also, though, we are spending a lot of time in professional development. Our teachers are getting the professional development, the resources and the training that they need. So look to them for help and for guidance. We're not just going to be putting kids on programs, but we're going to actually be teaching them asynchronously. Yeah, can you say that? Asynchronously. We're going to be teaching them. So we're going to be in front of them on a regular basis. So parents, if they're having any concerns or issues, then look to your teachers for those resources and for that help and assistance that you might need. And we're also building out other platforms, parent academies and parent universities and other resources that you can call and actually get help if you should get stuck along the way. So I think that given the support that we're building all of our academics around, parents should not have any problems within Birmingham City Schools navigating devices or even navigating the curriculum that's put in front of them. We're going to, again, make sure that we're putting the things in place to make sure that parents and students are successful this year.
Awesome. Great information. Thank you.
So I do have quite a few.
Okay.
So I would recommend that all parents really subscribe to the weekly DYS newsletter, the City of Birmingham Division of Youth Services newsletter, and I can drop that information in the chat in just a few minutes. But another resource would be that of the Alabama Virtual Library. We do have that available statewide. Then there's the Birmingham Public Library online, and we've had Mr. Council to share some information with us during our Street Talk editions. But with the Birmingham Public Library, you can download books. There's online programming that's available, and the library offers technology classes for adults as well, so parents can engage in those things. Alabama has a homework hotline that is available to parents, and it's the hours extend about 15 hours a day.
Okay.
Crayola, created.crayola.com, they have prepared a website just for parents. So they provide activities for parents to do at home, and those things are downloadable.
Wow.
APT, Channel 10 as we know it, Alabama Public Television, it's aptv.org/education/parents. So they have an abundance of resources. And what they are doing, they are creating a television schedule that starts at 6 in the morning and goes all the way to 10 o'clock at night. The programming is pre-K through fifth grade. It will include literacy, STEM, social and emotional learning, social studies, and art. There's
Wow.
a 5-hour learning block for students in grades 6 through 12 that will be available midday. And with some of those things, they will focus on more STEM and English and language arts activities. But all of those things, and the way they do their schedule, it's broken down by grade levels, it's broken down by subject spans, and it's all color coded. So there's typically a code at the bottom that will tell you what the subject area is and what the audience, what the intended audience is to be. STARE, in which our church has served as a STARE partner for a very long time. But during the summer, they began a virtual tutoring option. So parents can partake in that. Right now, they are still on a summer schedule, but you can text the word summer, capital S, capital U, capital MMER, all caps. And the number is 205-649-5638. And so with that, you will get an automatic reading activity once a week designed for students in grades K through 3. They also have on their website a list of COVID resources. So they have resources for parents as far as getting some emotional and wellness help that they may need, resources to help parents that may have been unemployed or furloughed during this time. So that's a really neat resource to have. The state of Alabama has purchased a website. It is ebscoed.com, ebscoed.com. And it is filled with distance learning resources, and it is available for parents, teachers, and students. It's cross-curricular, and it's free. The state has paid the amount of money for parents to be able to use it. Our own McWayne Science Center here in Birmingham, they have family at home experiments available on their website at mcwayne.org. So there are tons of things that are out there to support. And let's not forget YouTube. YouTube is great for the fry sight words, the practice words. There are multiplication raps. There are songs about the 50 states and virtual field trips and things of that nature. So even though a lot of times the kids use YouTube for fun purposes, parents can also look to that resource to help support them at home.
Great information, a plethora of information. A couple of things. First off, your pastor is beaming with pride with all that information that was just put out there. And he also said that we will be putting those resources and information points on the church website as well. So for those of you who are listening, the 45th Street website will have all that information that was just put out there. Shortly after this Bible study or this conversation wraps, you'll be able to access it via the website. All right, Melanie, don't know if you had any additional that you want to throw, but I definitely want to give you a chance if you do have some additional resources that you want to throw out there for parents.
No, Theris gave us all of them. I think we can wrap it up now.
All right, sounds good.
All right, see y'all later.
No, not at all.
Sounds good.
No, seriously.
Go ahead.
Okay. You go ahead.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention about YouTube. There are admissions videos for the high school students that aren't able to go and visit on college campuses right now. So most of the admissions departments have put those things out there. So that might be something that the high school students and parents may be interested in as well.
Awesome. All right. I know we have only a few minutes left with Pastor Tatum, so let's kind of shift it just a little bit. We've been resource heavy, which of course that's what this is about, but I think it'd be a disservice to not just kind of check in and see how you all are doing personally. So to that end, let me ask you all this. What are you missing most during this time? Like, we've been restricted for a while now. And just what are you missing most, and what are you most looking forward to kind of doing once we're able to on a full scale? Pastor Tatum.
Well, I went into education primarily for the students, and I miss them the most. I miss interacting with them on a regular basis, and I appreciate platforms like Zoom that at least allow us an opportunity to see them. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing like being in a classroom in front of kids and understanding the different characters that even the classroom itself might make up. So I miss that most of all, even in my current position. Looking forward to kids getting an opportunity to come back to school, being able to collaborate with each other, because that's when they're really going to grow. We are working again with our teachers to ensure that those opportunities to collaborate with other kids are still in play, because we know that kids learn from each other. So we're excited again that we're putting those things in place for them, because we know it's key. But if you ask me what I miss most, is that ability or that opportunity to collaborate and see the young people that come in, the minds that we touch.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Theris, what about you?
The traditional back to school buzz.
Yeah.
The stores are usually, just the hustle and bustle. And now it's like the backpacks are just idle. School buildings are just idle. But like Mr. Tatum said, I really enjoy when I do get the opportunity to spend in the classroom with the kids. I really, really enjoy doing that. I love to read to them, play with them, hang out with them, or whatever. So all of that is going to be a little bit different.
Okay. And what are you looking forward to, being able to just kind of get back in, do, et cetera, when we're able to?
Well, personally, church. I really miss being at church with church family. That's, I really, really just miss that. But otherwise, just being able to get away or go travel or take a day trip, not anything big, just be able to do something that we have now taken, that we used to take for granted, that things that were always going to be available. So.
Absolutely. Amen to that. What about you, Melanie? What are you missing the most during this time, and what's something you just absolutely look forward to doing when you can?
Yeah, I'm definitely missing people. I'm missing people in the perspective of as homeschoolers, we have. Let me preface this by saying Birmingham has a huge homeschool community. I'll say that at our Easter egg hunt last year, we had over 200 elementary school homeschoolers from Birmingham.
Wow.
For our Valentine's Day party, we had just as many. So Birmingham has such a huge homeschool community, and I miss my children being able to be with their friends. I miss them being able to, just go out and just play. And then when we had co-op, I miss them learning with other children. We weren't, there used to be a stigma on homeschoolers where, homeschoolers just stayed at home and stayed to themselves and didn't talk to other people. And that just definitely isn't the case. Yep. And I just miss them being able to, just hang out with their little buddies every week. And honestly, I miss being with the other homeschool moms and just having a moment to just breathe while they, play. Because when you're a homeschool parent, and now, for all these other parents who are now virtual school parents, your children are with you 24/7, 365, and you love them, but sometimes you just need, to breathe. I miss that. I just miss just everything that came along with that. And then I also miss, like Theris said, the things that we used to take for granted. With Birmingham being such a huge having such a huge homeschool community, a lot of the museums and the little play places had homeschool memberships that we had, like the little jumpy places. Homeschoolers could literally jump for free from 8 to 3 all day long.
Yeah.
with the membership. We took that for granted. We want to go jump. Okay, cool. And now it's like the kids are like, Mom, we want to do. And I'm like, we can't, so I miss those things. And I look forward to, just getting back out and just taking those, what we call field trips, and going to McWayne Center and going to the museums and spending our days not within our four walls learning.
Wow. It's good stuff. Mr. Tatum, I know you're about to get out of here to go get ready for your Bible study. Just wanted to ask you before you left, of course, thank you for what you're doing in terms of getting the teachers tech ready and making sure that all the frontline technological stuff is on point for both teachers and students. Just for the audience, how different is that, considering that now everything is going to be done virtually? How different is that compared to, when it was maybe used as a supplemental piece last school year and before, compared to now? How different is that? How difficult is it? Just how is your job now in the framework that we've been presented with currently?
Well, for BCS, we were already moving in the direction of one-to-one. So the things that we're doing now has more or less been expedited because of the pandemic. So this is where we want it to be. Probably not as fast as it came upon us, but this is just where we want it to be. And again, we spent a lot of time making sure that the lessons that we design in our synchronous and asynchronous learning are very similar to what the experience will be when students come back to school. Mm-hmm. So, while it may be different from last year slightly, we put things in place that we don't expect will go away over the next several years. It's what we want to do. We're launching and have launched even last year our new learning management system, which is Schoology. It gives parents that platform to be able to log in, see their students' assignments, keep up with their grades, interact with their teachers. The Zoom platform is the only addition that we're adding to that allows parents to be able to see their teacher and kids to interact with their teachers and other students. So we're just right where we need to be when it comes to the technology. There's going to be a slight learning curve, but we're making sure that we are continuing to push forward. So when we look at things, if I can quote the scriptures, all things work together, those good of those who love the Lord. Absolutely. So this is a good thing, even though people are looking at the pandemic, I'm looking at the other side of it. Yes, we are right where we want to be as a district with our one-to-one initiative, putting devices in the hands of every student, helping them with their hotspots and Wi-Fi connections if needed, and then training them to operate and function in this new digital environment that we actually live in today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for what you're doing and what you do. And thank you for being on with us tonight. God bless you as you get ready to go into your Bible study. Thank you again for everything.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Melanie and Theris, let's kind of, we're going to wrap these last 15-20 minutes up, just kind of mixing in some personal and professional, because I think it's important to talk about both in this current climate. If I what's one thing, if you had to name one thing that maybe you've either learned or discovered about yourself, or something that's been reinforced that you or rediscovered about yourself, what has that been in this time of the pandemic? Has there been anything that you've learned or discovered or rediscovered about yourself in this time? Don't be too shy. Y'all.
So for me, and several people will probably laugh at this, but I've actually learned that my planner is not as important as I once thought it was.
Ah. Wow. You say your planner or your planning?
Both.
So you have realized that those things are not quite as important as they.
No, not in the least bit.
Wow. Makes sense. Makes sense, because planning absolutely got turned upside down.
Oh, so, absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, what about you, Melanie? Can we unmute her? Unmute. All right. Can we get Melanie unmuted, good people?
Thank you.
There we go. All right.
All right. So one thing that I've learned about myself during this pandemic is that it's okay to let my family sleep in.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, I'm notorious for I'm a stickler about schedules just because with so many children and so many different things to juggle during the day
Hmm.
between them and my business and, other things I've got going on, just so much juggling. I'm really strict about scheduling. But once the pandemic hit, it was like with the world shut down, what are we getting up at 7 in the morning for? I don't have to have breakfast on the table at 7:30 if I don't, if I don't really want to. So I really learned that it's okay to kind of not be, so strict on my schedule. And I'm okay with that. I think we'll kind of adapt some of that once the world opens all the way back up anyway.
Okay. All right. Awesome. 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 I love it. Love it. Both of those are some very practical things. And I think a vast majority of people watching and those just around the country, period, would probably say amen to both. Because situations have presented themselves and yeah, we've had to make some adjustments. So good stuff. Um, you can take this question in a personal vein or a professional vein, but what do you foresee as being your biggest challenge and your biggest opportunity going forward? And again, you can take that personally or professionally, but what do you foresee as being your biggest challenge and your biggest opportunity going forward?
So for me, one of the things that has been a challenge is the with everything just being fluid and not really knowing what the next thing is.
Mhm.
However, I can see that as an opportunity because it's an opportunity for me to actually enjoy the moment
Okay.
and not anticipate the next thing. Professionally, I think that education is forever changed. And I think that it is going to, if we take and grasp a growth mindset about it, I think that it can become revolutionary.
Mm.
I really, really do. We've participated in different studies and conversations and book studies over the last several years about preparing for the 21st century classroom. And there are four components in what they call the 21st century classroom, and those would be creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication.
Okay.
And what we found out is that all four of those things can take place in varied formats if we give the students the opportunities to show what they know and what they can do. So I'm really excited about what is to come in
Okay.
education if we as a society and community embrace the opportunity that we're in right now.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. What about you, Melanie? Biggest challenge, biggest opportunity.
Yeah. So my biggest challenge right now is um, giving my teenagers, my high schoolers, the opportunity to get extracurriculars at the public schools like I planned for this year. So in the state of Alabama, homeschoolers have the opportunity to do extracurricular activities with the local public schools.
Hmm.
And that has always been on the books. They could do that and still be considered a homeschooler. Just go to the public school to do those extracurriculars, and those extracurriculars look great on college transcripts. We
Mhm.
are college bound homeschoolers. So I want to make sure that my children have every opportunity that they have so that they are on the same playing field as other graduating high schoolers in their class.
Absolutely.
And so that has just been kind of put to a halt with COVID-19 because now I'm not letting my children go to the public school, to do basketball. I think TJ kind of touched on that last week.
Yeah.
I'm not letting him do that. Anita's my 10th grader. She can't go, to do track, and she can't join the debate team like we planned to put those
Wow.
things on her transcripts. And so that's a challenge for me, figuring out how we're going to navigate that and still give them strong enough transcripts so that, next year, Anita, my 10th grader, can start applying for scholarships and those sorts of things, because I still want them to have strong transcripts. I just don't know, how we're going to incorporate those things now. So that's my biggest challenge as a mom.
Wow.
That's huge for me right now.
Yeah. That's something that, with you being in the capacity you're in as a homeschool mom, like that's something that wouldn't have even crossed my mind in terms of not having access to those extracurriculars like you normally would. So that is a huge challenge. What do you say is the biggest opportunity for you kind of going forward?
With everything going on, the biggest opportunity that I've had is to be able to reach other parents who need my assistance. One of the things that I always pray to God is that He uses me to bless somebody else. Mm-hmm. And during this season, I know I can say that I've been told that I've been, a blessing into other people's lives in having the ability to help them navigate, this season. And so I feel like this is the biggest opportunity for me right now to reach more parents, to help them navigate so that they can learn as I learn and learn what I've learned already and those sorts of things.
Good stuff. Last couple of questions as we kind of start to wrap up. With you all being, I'm gonna call you some just some support dynamos, because y'all got resources out the wazoo. Y'all have really given some amazing information tonight. Some practical, like I can go to and put my finger on this stuff to do and help navigate this. With you all being so resourceful, we know that churches play a huge role in the lives of our young folks, whether that's by choice or by force, mm-hmm. right? Church plays a huge role, whether it was the things like the youth choir or the church step team or quote unquote children's church. You name it. Churches have really come a long way in terms of offering resources, outlets, etc. for our young people. So that being said, considering where we are right now, considering that most churches aren't meeting in person, some are, and if they are, it's on a very limited or a bit of a staggered schedule. But what do you all think? Is there a role that you think churches can play to continue to be resources as we're in this kind of digital or virtual time? Because I again can't really do what we've normally done. So is there, do you all think there's a way that churches can still be resources for our young people?
Oh, absolutely. I do. One thing in which many churches, including ours, has Wi-Fi available in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And so students can also connect, students and parents can access the Wi-Fi to support their learning or to support any other, if parents are looking for jobs or things of that nature, churches can certainly do those types of things. I would implore everybody to find something that they could do to support a family, whether it's peek out for a next door neighbor who might be a latchkey kid, or maybe connect with the school to see if you can do a read aloud via Zoom or upload it to YouTube or something of that nature. I think that the possibilities are just endless. The possibilities are just endless. I think if we just think outside of the box a little bit.
Okay. Anything you can think of, Melanie, that churches can do to continue to be resources to our young people?
Well, one thing that I know our church does that I think is awesome is offering youth Bible study on a weekly basis. I feel like that is absolutely imperative, and it's great that 45th Street has continued to do so during this time, and it's via Zoom. And they get on for, about an hour or so and just talk about God. And I think that's important for children and teenagers to keep that connection with their church family in this time of uncertainty. But outside of that, I don't know if there are any churches that have done this, but I think it would be good if those who are in the church who could offer free tutoring services to children. If each church could, put something together to, a dedicated phone number or something that church members can call to get to a tutor or teachers that are that are members of their church who can help them, and it'd be somebody they know, because there are tons of tutors out there. But if my child needs a tutor, I'm going to choose somebody who, is familiar with them and who I know cares about my children, before I choose a tutor, that I just found on the internet somewhere. So I think that would be great if churches could do something like that to support children.
Great suggestion. Great suggestion. Thank you all both for that. Last question for you. Last question. Kids are, we said before, they're digital natives. They are used to the electronics. They're used to the digital. They're used to the virtual. But something happens when you have to sit in front of a screen as opposed to when you want to sit in front of a screen. So that being said, are there any suggestions that you all have to for parents to help them keep kids engaged and attentive virtually?
So my recommendation would be to allow them some indoor and outdoor time. It's completely okay to go outside and play for 30 minutes. If you want to go outside and do science experiments or create puppet stages at home, if you want to do s'mores outside, I think that we can be as creative and as innovative as we want to be. And I can also share some other ideas about that via the website later this evening. But another thing that I would ask parents to do, especially for the younger ones, they still need to have their motor skills developed.
Mm-hmm.
So I would still say have them to write for so many minutes and have them to color and to use scissors and still teach them how to tie their shoes. Some of those practical things that require their fine motor skills, because the swiping of the technology does not.
Right.
And so that becomes a concern when we do return to traditional instruction, because for those students that have not ever been to school, they may not have ever held a pencil if the parents depend totally on digital learning. So I think that we need to make sure that there is a mixture there, make sure that they are, still writing, because one difference that we haven't talked about with last school year versus this one is that they spent 75% of the school year in class with the teachers, with friends. And now the teachers are going to do their very best to teach students that in many cases they might not have ever seen or met.
Right.
So everything is going to be, and they won't get that interpersonal connection that sometimes teachers build within their classroom communities. They can look at a child and see that they're not feeling well, or look at a child and maybe realize that there's some sadness that's there. So I think those things are going to be missing for the beginning of this school year. So I think as parents, we've also got to be diligent and make sure that we provide them with some other experiences as well.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Good stuff. Melanie, as the OG in the game of keeping the kids engaged and attentive in the confines of the house, any suggestions you got?
Yeah. I don't think we have about an hour, so let me give you the minimized version. I just want parents to realize that learning can be everywhere. Learning can be in anything that you do with your children, to get them away from the screen and still engaged. Let me give you my one example is my children. Every day of the week, at least one of my children have to make lunch. that's a part of our daily instruction. That's something that they do to serve our family, and that teaches them, proportions and just all sorts of different things by having them in the kitchen. Baking, that can teach math skills, pulling them away from, the math apps and things like that. And they're measuring, they're, doing something practical and still getting that learning. Just all sorts of things. Let's not, and I know libraries are offering, ebooks, and those are great resources, but if you can, still, take your library card, go online. Most libraries have drive-through pickup right now. Go online, check out books, go to your local library, pick them up, let your children feel the paper and actually touch books, and, crawl up under, a table and with their cover to read books, read physical books.
Yeah.
Let's not depend so heavily on that technology. Let's in every way we can stick with some of the traditional things, because I feel like children need that. Manipulatives. One thing that we call him now my kindergarten boy, even though he's 4. One thing he likes to do is count things, count beans. We have a little pot that, we use with my little 2-year-old, and my 4-year-old will go in and literally count dry beans. Things of that nature that just allow them to learn without knowing that they're learning, and still, be away from those screens. There are just so many things. Just try to, engage, if you're folding clothes, let them help fold clothes. Just all sorts of things. But this has been great. I did want to tell you one other thing.
Yeah.
We were talking about websites. I didn't hear if Theris mentioned the parent assistance line. Did you mention that, Theris, out of University of Alabama? They have what's called the parent assistance line. And what that is a hotline that you can literally call if you're feeling, as a parent, overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed, if you're, you just need somebody to talk to, because this can be a very lonely world of being at home with just your children. And, for me, my spouse is at work a lot of the time, grace be to God, he's able to, spend, some good time with us. But there are other parents who may not have that, that other parent to bounce ideas and stuff off of. So the parent assistance line with the University of Alabama is free, number one. They have a website. The website address is PAL, so pal.ua.edu. You can get on there and chat with, the people that run that line, and just tell them, hey, I'm stressed, and they'll just talk you through it, because we sometimes need that. They have a phone number that you can call and actually hear another adult on the phone and just be like, these kids are driving me crazy, and you can just go and bounce those ideas and thoughts off of another adult. And their phone number is 1-866-962-3030. And I feel like, in addition to, all the other websites and all the other phone numbers and all those other things, it's important that we just, make sure that our mental health as parents that are having to, navigate this new normal, that we take our mental health seriously, because we cannot be there for our children if, we don't have it together in our own heads. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Great resource. Thank you so much for that. I'm gonna say real quick as we wrap it up, you kind of for a minute made me feel a little inadequate as a parent, because as your kindergarten boy is counting dry beans and learning how to count like that, my kindergarten boy is learning how to count from counting M&Ms out for dessert every night. So
but he would
dry beans,
let him.
M&Ms.
He would if I let him. Let me say this too. Because people will question, well, why is he starting kindergarten at 4 when in the state of Alabama, you don't start kindergarten until you're 5? Here's why. Because one of the advantages of your children being at home, if you've got multiple age groups of children now, he's learning in a classroom, a home classroom, with children that are older. So last year when I was teaching my second graders, addition and subtraction, he was sitting in the room absorbing all of that. So as parents, you have the opportunity to give your children, that to quench that thirst for knowledge.
Right.
And so don't feel like you're limited to whatever the teacher sends to you. If you've got multiple age level kids, and one is peeking over at the first graders, peeking over at the fifth graders paper, let him absorb it. Let him or her absorb that information. I'm not gonna talk you out of death, but
great point.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. I've seen it myself with my two. We got an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, and that's happened. And the 3-year-old has developed so much just from being around the 8-year-old. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, look, it has been an absolute blessing. It's been fun. It's been a robust conversation. I thank both of you, and of course, Mr. Tatum in his absence. Thank you for just coming on and just giving us the wealth of knowledge that you have acquired from years of doing this, perfecting it, mastering it, and just being willing to share it with us. So thank you all both for just being blessings to us, to the community. Thank you both for that.
Well, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And all of you who were watching, whether you were via Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you watched us from, listen to us from, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been 45 Minutes of Purpose, XL edition, Street Talk edition, back to school conversations. We hope that you have learned a lot. We hope that you have gotten some great nuggets, some great pieces of information to take with you, and not just simply get through this time, but thrive in it. Thank you so much. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Right.
Bye.